Okay, the reading is from 2 Corinthians. Remember this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. This is from the Chansangyang. A life of faith is not aimless. A life of faith is like gathering the equipment required to reach a mountaintop, the summit of the highest peak. Hence, when faced with an obstacle, we should not make a detour around it. Instead, we should proceed through the obstacle. When faced with hardships, we should determine not to give up and be ready to face even greater difficulties. With an indomitable spirit, we should strive to discover the subjective self that can digest all difficulties.
So, do some of you out there have trouble getting your kids to come to church? They say they don't want to come. Okay, never, huh? Okay, here's one. So one Sunday morning, a mother went to wake her son and tell him it was time to get ready for church. To which he replied, "I'm not going." "Why not?" she asked. "I'll give you 2 good reasons," he said. 1, they don't like me, and 2, I don't like them. And his mother replied, "I'll give you 2 good reasons why you should go to church. 1, you're 54 years old, and 2, you're the pastor." So I had to come to church this morning. You needed that, huh? Okay, so the Bible readings, I kind of, where do they fit in with this talk? So you reap what you sow in the Bible. So if you sow generously, you reap generously. But this talk is related to our mind, because really in your life, the place you plant things is in your mind, where they begin. So first you have to sow the thoughts in your mind. If you sow good thoughts in your mind, then the things in your life that you will reap will be good. But if your mind is filled with negative thoughts, then that's what you reap also, because your mind is where the beginning of creation starts. So a lot of times, I know in our church we talk about mind-body unity, but really my struggle is more with the mind. How do we put the right things in our mind? Because that's what will determine your whole life. And if you allow weeds to be growing in your mind, those things will crowd out many of the good things. That's why from Father's words about having a strong life of faith, and a strong direction, without that, the weeds come in. If you don't strongly put the good things in your mind, your goals, your passions, what you want to create, there's so many other things that will fill your mind. And unintentionally, you will create those things. So our position in the universe, God created his children as the co-creators of the world. So we have a special power, and I think Satan knew that. How did Satan take over the physical world? By taking over the children, because Satan is not a creator, but we are. And so in order for Satan to create what Satan wanted, he has to get into our mind. So I wanted to, there's a book that Napoleon Hill wrote. He wrote it actually 70 years ago, and it was never published until 2011 because it was too controversial for him to publish. And when he passed away, his wife wouldn't publish it until after she died. And so I guess his descendants and his foundation published it recently, but they didn't publish it because they felt like the churches wouldn't really like what he had to say. Because he talks a lot about, more his perspective is taking ownership for what you believe. Don't just believe because someone tells you something, but choose wisely what you let into your brain. And I think always I've been pretty careful about what I let into my mind. I'm not the type of person that walks around with headphones tuning into everybody else's vibration or, the music or I just, if I'm like working on a job, I won't ever be listening to music or anything because I want to know what's going on in my head, not what someone else wants to put into my head. And I'm very careful when I listen to people. I'll listen, I'll hear it, and then I'll decide if I want to let it in my head because I don't want my mind to be full of garbage. And if it doesn't serve my purpose, I just put it away someplace. Maybe it'll serve it later, but generally I will jettison things that aren't relevant to me. It's kind of like cleaning at home. If you don't take out the garbage, if you don't get rid of things you don't need, your life becomes very cluttered, right? How about your mind? Is it cluttered? Is there stuff in your mind that you don't really need that's not serving you at all? I think so. And so even reading, like I'm not a big reader of books. I explore the internet more, but I want insights coming not just from other people, but I want things coming that I can discover on my own. And even the divine principle, I took it in, but over my life, I tested everything to see what's true and what's not, or, how to really understand. Unless you test it, you don't really know deeply what it means. So as young people, you hear a lot of ideas. Are they true? Are they not true? You have to, your life is a life of discovering what's real, what's not real, and then learning how to use those things. So the topic is called Your Mind is Fertile Ground. It will grow anything. Yeah. So the question is, what do you want it to grow? Oh, Daniel said I have to turn it on. It works better. Okay, so here's a little bit from Napoleon Hill's book. Now, Napoleon Hill was probably the person, I think, who started this movement of positive thinking. A lot of you know the book The Secret and that whole thing, but that comes out of some of the things he began way back in his book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, he interviewed many wealthy and successful people, and he tried to identify what made those people wealthy and successful. And most of what it related to was their mind. What is in their mind? And so how do you gain... in this particular book, the reason this book was about is it's his interview of the devil. Now, so he starts asking the devil questions about how do you control people, and he gets answers back. Now, whether this is stuff he learned over his life, interviewing people, how they were successful, how other people were unsuccessful, I suspect it was that he was asking his own experiences. I don't think he was actually talking to the devil, but you never know. There's also things called when your mind, if you elevate yourself spiritually, you have, what he says, Napoleon Hill says, you have access to all the knowledge in the universe if you connect to it. There's a body of knowledge out there. So if you access that body of knowledge, you can know everything. So you just have to ask and connect with it. So people's minds are connected. The spirit world, the world of mind, you can tap into. So maybe he tapped into the mind of the devil. Maybe he just saw from people's lives how the devil influenced them. So how do you gain control of the minds of people? And the devil's answer was, oh, that is easy. I merely move in and occupy the unused space of the human brain. I sow the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people so I can occupy and control space. So what is the solution? This is just coming from a few of my thoughts. I think the solution is you need to make your mind subject. You can't just be object to whatever comes to you, because everything good and bad is coming to you. So your mind has to filter and say, okay, what will I let into my mind? Because whatever you let into your mind, the universe will begin then to manifest that substantially in your life. So make your mind subject over your thoughts. Choose the thoughts that you want to keep and discard the rest. And also elevate your mind with positive thoughts, and God's words is a good way to do that. So although, we may not like to spend time reading God's words or praying and those things, if you don't put positive things into your mind, then the vacuum will be filled by other stuff. So what is the easiest way that the devil uses to control the mind? And he says it's through fear. So I plant the seeds of fear in the minds of people, and as these seeds germinate and grow, I control the space they occupy. So that's one reason why both the churches and education were a little bit of a concern in terms of this material, because in churches, don't we plant the fear and wrath of God into people? Isn't that traditional? If you don't do this, you're going to hell, or. But he said, yes, the devil is very happy for that to be preached, because he wants people to be afraid. He wants people to be afraid of him. Because if they really knew that he has no power, if you don't let him in your mind, then he would have no influence. But if you're preaching fear of the devil, who are you focusing on? Fear and the devil. So you're giving power to what you're fearing. So whatever, in terms of the secret and that law of attraction, all that thinking, whatever you're focusing your mind on, even if you're focusing against it, you're giving energy to it. So actually the strongest fear is poverty. This whole culture, the whole way the world works, we have to spend our whole life kind of preparing for a job and getting our degrees, getting all these things so we can be secure, right, financially. And so much of our life is tied into feeling financial security. So there's great fear about losing your job or not getting the right education or, all those things. Fear of criticism. What will people think? We have to be politically correct. Ill health. Loss of love is a big one. And he said, the actual other greatest one is death. Many people are very afraid to die, especially as that time comes closer. Your young people aren't really thinking about that much, especially the young guys. They have no concept of the things they do. Sometimes it's like, no, they're invincible, right? Still, their brain is, guys don't mature until about 35 or 45, then they're mature. Yes. Maybe. Greg, we're still not sure. Okay, let's see. What is the greatest weapon over human beings? They consist of two secret principles by which the devil says he gains control. The first principle of habit, through which I silently enter the minds of people, and by operating through this principle, I establish the habit of drifting. So, a little bit about what is drifting. So, if your mind is not subject, and you just go take in anything, that is the kind of person that will just begin to drift, go with the flow. Okay, so he defines clearly what is drifting. So I can best define the word drift by saying that people who think for themselves never drift. If you have your own strong mind, then the devil has trouble influencing and getting in. So while those who do little or no thinking for themselves are drifters. So a drifter is influenced and controlled by circumstances. So their life, they're a victim of their life. Or you see a lot of people have a victim mentality or so. Difficulties will be an obstacle. that's why I was reading Father's words about persevering. Don't worry about difficulties. That will just train you. Maybe you fail. A drifter, if they fail, they'll stop. So don't worry about failure. A drifter accepts whatever life throws his way and doesn't know really what do you want from life. So you're the creator in your life. Even with, we have children, but I was very careful not to interfere too much and tell our children what they should be doing, what should their career be. I gave basic guidelines, but specifically, it's not my life, it's your life. You're the creator of your life. So although I wanted them to stay on a principle track and tried to teach them values and morality, but in terms of what you want to do with your life, it's yours, you choose. So for you young people, you have a whole life ahead of you. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to create? You're the creator. And it's going to start by what's in your brain, what you're thinking of. So a drifter also has many opinions about everything. They know everything, but they're not their ideas. They've taken it from everybody else, but what do you think? And that may come more with time and the aging process. What do you really think? You take ownership over your mind, over what your thoughts are. And a drifter is too lazy mentally to use his own brain. They always rely on what other people think. So I would recommend you not live your life depending on what other people think. Create your own thoughts. Discover. So what's the most common habits by which you control the minds of people? I enter the minds of people through thoughts which they believe to be their own. Most useful is fear. One place I was reading, like, when people are afraid, much of their brain shuts down. Your logic doesn't work anymore. You just start, it's the mentality of fight or flight. You just run from the situation. So in terms of finances, a lot of times people will get in financial difficulty, and companies will do this. And then they stop doing things logically. They start doing crazy things, like maybe you're in financial trouble, so what might you do? You might buy a lottery ticket. Oh, that's a good idea. Or maybe go to the casino, right? That will really help. But what's that? So this is the way fear works. It's that's your more reptilian brain takes over, the brain that wants to just survive. And so you'll take extreme risks when you're afraid. Or you'll totally give up your rights. This is how many dictators took over, Hitler or various dictators. They create an atmosphere of fear and they take you to war. Well, in that atmosphere, people will willingly do crazy things. They'll go kill other people because they're afraid. So this is that kind of mindset. You get people afraid enough and you can control them very well. So this is the way the devil works, through fear. Superstition, another one, avarice and greed. So avarice is the love of money, and greed. So money kind of makes people feel safe and secure. But, that's just external. So your real security comes in terms of who you are, your relationship with God, your relationship with those around you. Lust, anger and revenge is a good way for the devil to get in, because when you're angry, you're pretty much out of control, right? It's like, oh, someone made me angry. Oh, yeah, someone's controlling you, right? They're making you angry? No, you're choosing to be angry, really. So no one's making you. It's a choice you make. But when you allow that, the emotions are a very easy way for you to get off track. You'll start focusing on very negative things. If you have a negative emotion you take in, now you're angry, now your mind's starting to think about all the bad things about this maybe other person or this terrible situation, and it starts to consume you. So ideally you want to be subject over your emotions. And I think for women especially, that's a much more difficult challenge, right? Because women are very emotional beings. So, what's that? Italians too? Yes, Dario. Yes, they're good. Yes. But Dario is very passionate and emotional. But he has good emotions and he loves everybody, right? So that's good. So, focus your energy. And emotional energy is very powerful because thought energy doesn't actually create so much. It's when you add the emotion to the thought that then things begin to transform. That's why Father, like when he prayed, he said, pray with tears, passion, emotion. That's the energy that begins to make the universe now turn. How do you mobilize this? What Father talked about, mobilizing spirit world, right? You're mobilizing the universe to now create what you want. So for young couples, actually, I was recommending this. I read it someplace. Through love, this relationship of the physical and emotional relationship of love, there's a lot of energy there, right? Yeah. So it's a good time to focus on what you want because you're adding this energy of love and passion into creating something. So this relationship of husband and wife, man and woman, it's all about creating. You're creating children, but you're creating a family, you're creating a world, and you can channel that energy, that emotional energy. This researcher said this is very powerful. Use that relationship of love to create and focus on what you desire. Yeah. So, Napoleon Hill says, tell me about the second best trick of yours with which you induce people to drift into hell. And the devil says, parents, teachers, religious instructors, and many other adults unknowingly serve my purpose by helping me to destroy in children the habit of thinking for themselves. So they go about their work in various ways, never suspecting what they are doing to the minds of children. And in this book, he goes into education a lot, how education is so structured into learning maybe facts and kind of brainwashing people, but are they teaching how to create and how to be thinkers? When we look in different countries, like America tends to be a place where there's a lot of innovation and new development because education may be a little different here, or it used to be, but maybe that's changed. But in some of the Oriental cultures, it's very rigid. You learn this, 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 and this, and the answer is this. There's always a right or wrong answer. In the Western, in America, sometimes there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, but the question is, how did you get to your answer, maybe? So the key, I think, in education is teaching people how to think, how to learn. In the old days, like someone who was like a PhD or a doctor, like a Ben Franklin or so, they were inventors. They once you could learn to read and had access to what other people learned, then you could take that and you could discover new things. So these were like, Franklin was like a scientist. These are people that take other people's ideas and then they build upon them. They don't just settle with taking an idea and saying, this is how I live my life. In terms of my life of faith in the church, I don't think I ever became a follower of Father. When I joined, I just said, okay, these are ideas that I can agree with, and Father is going in a direction that I am going with. So I will go along and work together with Father. But did I ever become a follower of Father? No, I don't think so. I wasn't a good follower. Yeah, that's not in my nature. So that I will always do what I feel a passion to do. But I will work together, and I am a student of Father's words and principles, and I tested them. And I know much of it works, but I look in the divine principle, and I see things that this is a very kind of a limited understanding of certain things, how certain things work, especially in the creation, because I garden, I farm, and I experiment. I know how the creation works. And Father said most of the principle came by him studying the creation. So sometimes for the people who grow up in the city, you're learning creation through a book. But if you learn directly, you will know it deeply. Yeah, you'll know how it works. So one of my pet peeves recently is the diagram of the mind and the mind controls the body. But I was telling a few people, well, someone could be brain dead, and their heart will still beat, they will still breathe, and their cells will still work. So on a certain level, the mind governs the body, but on a lower level, the cells know what to do, the organs know what to do. It is self-governing. It's not top-down. It's a network. So God, by design, in terms of the family is also more of a network. Each couple becomes a cell in the family, and they're able to replicate. They're autonomous. They're sovereign. They know what to do. So because God is part of that family. God is the third person in the Trinity with the couple, with man, woman, and then there's God. So by design, God has already inserted himself in each cell in the family. And those cells are the building block. So we don't need a lot of hierarchy over the family. It's not a top-down structure, although there is a vertical through parents. There is a vertical aspect of love. But we learned this as our children grew. They become a little more self-sufficient, and you can't tell them what to do anymore, right? Anyone have that experience? It's kind of universal, yeah. So that's part of life. They become independent and sovereign, and then they can work together on a higher level. So this is how the creation works. So by design, they are free to create. So Napoleon Hill wants to know, so what would you tell a typical drifter to cure him of evil habits? And this is very interesting. He said, wake up and give. So give some form of service useful to as many people as possible. Because the way God created, it's all about giving. It's all about relationship. It's all about you exist for the sake of another. So for young people, you reach a limit of growth as an individual. You cannot go beyond a certain level because everything's about relationship. So really keep in your mind, that for you to grow to reach your potential, you can't do it alone. It's always, by design, it's always kind of where two or more are gathered, then this give and take creates a foundation for God to be present. So in terms of man and woman in marriage, then you go to another dimension. And at that point, you really become a person whose God's love is present in your life. You become able to have dominion over all things because God is with you. God is exerting dominion through you and your spouse. As you have give and take with your spouse, it's like spinning a top. Now you have an axis, and now you have a direction centered on love, and love will guide you. So I just know, looking at when the matching in Korea, when we saw new couples match, it's like they were plugged in and the energy begins to flow. So life has not begun for many of the younger people, not until you find your other half. So then in this book, and I do have this book is a PDF book. It was given out freely, so I can email everybody a copy of this book. I would recommend looking at it. But then he goes into the 7 principles for spiritual, mental, and physical freedom. And number 1 is definiteness of purpose. If you maintain a focus on your purpose over a lifetime, you will see many things change, and you will see that purpose come about. So just as Jesus said, if you have faith, even like a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. And if you have a focus on what you want, and you apply yourself and put energy, thought, and emotion into that over your lifetime, I think you will move a mountain. Yeah, things will dramatically change. And I've seen things like that more and more in my life. I think as you get older, you have a lot of power to move things with your mind. That's kind of what I'm noticing. If you've lived a life really disciplining your mind and having your mind be subject over your life. So that's also relates to mastery over self. I don't want to go into each one in detail because I didn't have time last night to read the whole book again. So I'll just touch on a few. Learning from adversity. Most successful people have failed many times, but they don't give up. They continue with the same purpose and goal. The people who are unsuccessful, if they fail once or twice, they stop and they give up. So that's why the Father's quote on climbing the mountain, just go through, prepare yourself, get new tools, but go through the difficulty. Don't give up. Oftentimes, and in Napoleon Hill's life, great success is just beyond the point of greatest difficulty. Same with Thomas Edison. He tried so many things. If he would have given up, he would have never been the success he was, but he didn't give up. So success, wealth, victory is beyond the point where you reach a limitation. You go beyond, so Satan will put the limitation there. You go through the limitation, and then you've gone beyond the power that Satan's put against you. So controlling environment and environmental influences. They said, Napoleon Hill said strongly, the strongest one is, he talked about a mastermind, but this is really, who are your friends? Who is your circle of friends that you are around? And notice this was very important when our kids were young. It's like you get into the wrong group, and it's very difficult for the parents to deal with the kids if they make the wrong friends, right? So we were fortunate our kids always chose pretty good friends. So it's like if you choose wisely, the people that you associate with, you pick up the energy and the thinking. And Napoleon Hill, I think, coined maybe the term mastermind. You create a group around you with this mindset of success. And that energy, your collective energy, will support everybody in achieving that. So you will naturally kind of attract to people who have similar thinking. If you need to elevate your thinking, try and associate with people that you know are kind of higher in terms of what their ability, what their thoughts are, or like with Father, connect with his words and elevate yourself. Talked about time. Time gives, if you repeat things over and over, they become habits, they become a part of you. Thoughts are the same. I think someone said they're like rivers that flow in a channel. Over time, they create a deep channel, and it becomes that thinking becomes a habit, whether right or wrong. So that's why be careful what you think, because it will create this habit in you, and probably your children will inherit similar thinking patterns. The other important one he said was caution. Be very careful. And that he also applied this to whenever you choose to associate with someone, be careful who you choose. Like in the Bible it says when you, talking about horses, when you hitch up to something like the team you're on, be careful which team you're on, because you'll go in the direction of that team, wherever they're going. So you hook up to the wrong people, wrong team, you'll go the wrong way. Also, if you're going to do something new, think it over very well. I know there are some people who just rush into everything, but he said think it over, because you're going to commit your energy and time. Make sure the plan is right. So there's a few kind of quotes that I wanted to mention that I thought were very interesting. What is faith? This is a quote from Napoleon Hill. Faith is a state of mind wherein one recognizes and uses the power of positive thought as a medium by which one contacts and draws upon the universal store of infinite intelligence at will. So, people of faith, I think, tap into something at a higher dimension. It's not that they just believe and are stubborn, but I think they tap into a higher knowledge. And to tap into that, I think you have to have a certain heart. I think true knowledge only comes with a heart of love. I think if you're self-centered, if you're not at a high level emotionally and spiritually, I don't think you can get to a high level of knowledge. But real knowledge comes always through knowing God and through knowing love. In Napoleon Hill's life, when he asked the devil, what kept him on track, the devil, what he said is, it was his wife kept him on track. It's like he had someone to hold him accountable. So on his own, he could have easily gone off track. But now when two people are kind of revolving around a purpose, you can maintain, it's like a gyroscope, you can maintain your direction through difficulties. But if it's just you alone, it's difficult you can waver. But the family is also like a system. As you have children and you build out that system, you're more and more motivated because more people are depending on you. You're not going to give up easily. I noticed this in my son. It's like he is super focused now. He has a wife, a child, and another one coming. Father says, like, in love, like even the animals, you'll see they become absolute. They are focused. Those birds, we have a starling. I'm determined that they're not going to make a nest in our gutter this year, and I keep kicking them out, and they keep coming back. He will not give up because they already established the habit. This was their nest for 2 years, and now I'm trying to say, no more. We don't want that mess in our gutter. But they are so focused and determined because of love. Because there's a male and female. They have a purpose now. They're laying these little eggs, building their nest, and they are absolutely determined. So, for you young people to become absolute, it will not happen without a family. So this is your path to become absolute, to connect with the flow of God's love and to go to another dimension in your life. And finally, nature will not tolerate idleness or vacuums of any sort. All space must be filled and is filled with something. So when an individual does not use the brain for the expression of positive, creative thoughts, nature fills the vacuum by forcing the brain to act upon negative thoughts. So don't just be idle with your mind. Make sure that there's something good in there. This reminds me of video games or something. Like, you can spend all day doing video games, but what are you filling your brain with, guys? It's like, this may get you on a course of drifting because it's almost hypnotic, or watching TVs or things. It's like puts you in a state where you're almost in a trance, just absorbing stuff, but your mind is very passive. So some people say, like, the greatest thing is remove the TV from your house. You'll do much better because you have to use your mind. You have to be creative in keeping yourself busy. A lot of times young people say, I'm bored. Okay, nothing's going on in your brain then, I think. You got to get something going on in your brain. Occupy it. Fill it with something. Find something creative. We are meant to be creators, okay? Create something. Anything's fine because it will get you on the path of creating. But don't leave a vacuum in your mind. Don't let random stuff be created in your life because whatever's in there will manifest. So manifest, keep good emotions, good thoughts, goals, a purpose. I think I'm done. No, I'm not done. Wisdom. Wisdom doesn't come automatically. This is very insightful. He says, wisdom, young people are not likely to have wisdom because it comes with time. People are not born with wisdom, but they are born with the capacity to think. And they may, through the lapse of time, think their way into wisdom. You won't have wisdom as a follower. If you just take other people's thoughts, you gain wisdom, I think, through applying those thoughts in your life over time, and you see how it works. Yeah. So hopefully older people have gained wisdom, but it's not necessarily the case. If they were drifting and just taking other people's thoughts, wisdom won't develop. So it develops through your own effort. We are done. Okay, let me close with a prayer. Our most loving Heavenly Parent, we thank you for this time that we're gathered here on this True Parents' Day. We can celebrate the greatness of your love, and that we can have true parents in heaven and on earth. We pray that we can also become true parents, because we want to really live fully with you. We want your presence in our life. We want you to be a part of our lives.